shark films truly are the genre that keeps on giving. I mean, sure, what it's giving may be steaming hot piles of garbage most of the time, but as the old saying goes, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Although in most cases relating to this, it tends to be one man's trash is another man's trash. However, I consider bad horror movies such as Sharknado, Giant Killer Ants, Birdemic, and similar movies to be a genre of their own. Granted, I'm not sure what it'd be called. Sure, the movies are objectively not great, shall we say, but yet they are still enjoyable to watch from the perspective of a completely different genre to what was intended. Comedy. My first experience with a movie like this was actually a few months back in a hotel where Three-Headed Shark Attack was on the TV, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. While in the present, I can't recall enough details on Three-Headed Shark Attack to make a video exclusively about it, I have recently found the time to watch 2 and 5-Headed Shark Attack, and let me tell you, I had a blast doing so. At some point in the future, I would like to rewatch Three-Headed Shark Attack as well as watch 6-Headed Shark Attack in order to complete the series, but for now, let's see what the 2 and 5-headed sharks have to offer us. Two-Headed Shark Attack was released to UK audiences on the 19th of March 2012. On IMDb it received a rating of 2.5 out of 10, and on Amazon Prime, which is where I happen to watch it, it currently stands at 3.5 out of 5 stars. To be honest, I wasn't really sure how I was going to structure this video at first, but in the end I decided that this is how I was going to do it. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the full plot of the movie, discuss key points and blaring issues that are noticeable at an eye's glance. If you, for whatever reason, you wish to avoid spoilers, then I'll go over my criticism again at the timestamp shown here, probably. Yeah, probably about there, I would say. Without referencing the plot or any key events, you know. No, not mentioning the writing, just genuine problems that are noticeable without spoilers. So if you want to avoid spoilers, go here. If not, let's just jump right into the main plot of the movie. So, after a brief introduction scene where we see a group of young adults getting attacked by the two-headed shark, we are introduced to the main cast of characters, about 5% of which are actually describable as characters as opposed to just being shark bait. My first problem with the movie is how it handles these characters. Like, right off the bat, the movie shows us a group of like 20 characters. The majority of them are students partaking in some school trip of sorts, and the characters that aren't students include their teacher, 2 men who help with maintenance of the boat, and 2 other women whose roles I generally don't actually know. I can't remember. I don't know if it was ever actually mentioned at any point, if it was like maybe the teacher's like daughter or girlfriend, maybe one of them was. I have no clue. This is the crux of my first point. Out of all the characters, I know the names of 1 from memory. But to be fair, I do remember hearing 2 other characters' names throughout the movie. I remember hearing them, I don't remember them. But besides that, nothing. There's too many characters for the movie to introduce in 88 minutes, especially when a lot of them have no defining characteristics besides, well, being your stereotypical slasher movie teens. The one character whose name I do remember is Cole, not because he's a good character, but because his introduction left such an imprint on me, because, I mean, I just spent a good few minutes laughing my ass off at it. I found it hilarious, the way they introduce him. He's your stereotypical jock character, and they make sure you know he is your stereotypical jock character.
Paul, you either grab this or grab you.
Hey, buddy. So, not much happens for a while. Cole gets told his dick is small by one of the girls. A rotting carcass of some big sea creature gets caught in the boat's propeller. The two-headed shark tries to eat the carcass and damages the boat's hull. And so, almost everyone on board leaves to an island while a few remain to fix the boat's hull. I think this is a better time than any to point out something which will likely be no surprise to you, after even just hearing the name of the movie. The visual effects are, well, they're this. I don't feel the need to drag on about this for too long, so let's just continue, shall we? The gang ventures into this new island to see what they find. They find several things, but the scariest discovery of all, another bad CGI decaying animal carcass. I know I said I wasn't going to keep going on about it, but I mean, I can't help it, it's force of nature. We are then greeted to a scene where one of the women whose names and role I do not know, even after watching the movie multiple times now, begins to fix the hull of the boat. It is here that the first member of this lovable and memorable cast bites the metaphorical dust. When it comes to the kills in this movie, I noticed that there were two different methods they used in editing them. Either they would have the character under attack be placed in the mouth of like a really obvious looking fake shark and edit in some cuts to bloody water, or something similar, or they'll do what they did in this scene, where they switch between having a shot of the character reacting to being attacked, but from an angle where you can't see the shark, to then having a completely CGI animated scene of the shark ripping the victim to shreds. It's pretty weird to see, considering the CGI isn't great, but it did make for a good laugh the first time I watched this scene, I've got to say. So the group continues searching the deserted island and finds some buildings, but still nothing much of relevance. 3 of the students, a guy and 2 girls, wander off to a beach on the other side of the island. And okay, so unfortunately I'm not actually going to be able to show you anything in this scene, because the guy in question suggests that the girls take off their clothes, to which they swiftly comply. Now I am quite upset that I can't show you this because of the nudity, because this kill is probably one of the most poorly executed in the entire movie. Since I can't show you, I'll draw a sketch for you so you can see what I'm talking about. So the body of water that the 3 of them are standing in is probably about waist deep, I would say. We've already seen the 2-headed shark a good few times so far in this movie, so we know that it is very large. Despite that, this massive hulking 2-headed beast of a creature manages to reach the 3 of them without even being seen by the guy, and then begins eating the 2 girls while still remaining completely out of sight. We don't even see the shark's fin! And the same can be said for the guy who then tries to run. He doesn't see either somehow, but he then gets promptly eaten. But I don't understand how the shark could reach water that's waist deep and not be seen, not even the fin. Again, that was another scene that got a good chuckle out of me. The following scene gives us more absolutely invigorating footage of the group searching the island. However, they actually discover something this time, so we can finally progress the plot, if that's what you'd like to call it. Quite a lot happens here, so I'll just summarize it briefly. The group find 2 boats and a shack. A group of some of the students, including Paul and the girl who is the other main character. Her name is Kate, but I only found this out later on because of one line, so keep that in mind. When I said the other girl main character, I meant Kate. That's her name, so don't worry about it. Begin working on fixing them. The island starts to shake violently for a brief period of time, and as a result, their teacher falls over and injures his leg in a really weird way. It looks like he got impaled on something because of like the injury that's left on his leg, but I can't for the life of me see what, no matter how many times I rewatch the scene. But most importantly, and you'd best remember this for the whole movie, because I remembered it for the whole movie. I remembered it because I thought it was going to be important, and it's very clearly a very important piece of information. One of the girls finds a revolver, and with no hesitation, I mean 0 hesitation, she takes it. Just snatches it up without questioning. Remember that. That's very important. That'll come up later. So 2 of the other shark bait characters take their teacher back to the boat, where when he's getting pulled back on, you can actually catch a quick glimpse of his crack if you're looking for it. There's some trivia for you. That aside, the 2 boys depart back to the island, but then take a detour because one of them saw some tiny object in the water like a mile away, which actually happened to be a human hand. The 2 boys get eaten by the shark, and now finally there are living characters who know of the existence of this 2-headed freak, but only the 4 characters in the boat. This is another one of the funnier kills, but I could say the same for quite a lot of them, so I won't waste time going too in depth into it just yet. Cole and his gang decide to help the people working on the boats by bringing them a barrel of gas, but they aren't actually here to help. What a twist. So Cole and his gang get the boat to work, and then they ride off into the distance to... I don't know. It's decided later. Paul, Kate and some other girl fire up the other boat and chase after them. This results in them partaking in a race to the main boat until the shark joins in on the fun. It's also here that we find out that the island is sinking, but it doesn't really have any impact yet. It doesn't really mean anything. This is once again another scene that provided some hearty laughter from me when I first watched it. As I said, the 2 boats are racing to the main boat that they all arrived on, but a lot of the camera angles show them driving towards the island that they just came from, or rather away from the boat that they are racing to. I mean, you could have just at least made the camera angle so the island's not in view, but no, I don't know how they left that in the movie. Anyway, one of Cole's crew dies from the shark, everyone sees it, so now all the characters are aware of the existence of this two-headed shark. We learn that the shark goes for boats with the bigger motor because of electroreception or something like that. Cole jumps out of the boat to save himself, even though he should really die from such an act because, you know, there is a massive hulking two-headed shark directly below him. But he gets rescued by Paul's gang, and the other two in his boat die, and that is that. With everyone reunited on the island, we begin the time-wasting phase, wherein the characters spend time coming up with a plan, which surprisingly doesn't work for one reason or another. I really don't feel the need to talk about this for long, so I'll summarise their plan, the execution, and why it ends up failing. Because the shark detects electromagnetic waves, which is brought up earlier, they plan to send out an electrical current into the water while Kate and Cole go out to the boat with the welder to fix it. For a moment here, I thought there was going to be some character development for Cole, albeit heavily rushed and poorly executed, but unfortunately, that's not what happens. Instead, Cole leaves everyone behind by driving the boat away once Kate finishes the repairs. The two boat workers that don't speak English get eaten, and then Cole gets eaten as the shark turns its attention to the boat. One point I want to mention here. Cole leaves the boat on some dinghy to try and escape, but the shark locates him because his phone goes off. I'm assuming the phone still works because it's waterproof or something, but the phone does go off. The main problem for the whole movie has been that there's been no way to contact anyone to call for help. Yet Cole dies because he got a call on his phone? Nice.
I'm sinking! And there's a two-headed shark attack!
He said it! He said it! Ladies and gentlemen, he said the phrase! Thank you! Thank you! Oh, you're too kind, you're too kind. The next few scenes are really just filler to kill off as many characters as possible. The island starts sinking, people make dumb decisions, bad visual effects make some characters' decisions seem illogical, and there are so many problems that I could talk about this for hours. But unfortunately, I don't have hours to spare, so I'll just go over the casualties and skip to the climax. These two girls run from everyone else for some reason and die. The teacher and the girl he seems close to die after getting cut off from everyone else. 3 more girls die after the whole gang enters the chapel, and finally this one guy stays back and dies as well. Now remember how I told you the revolver would be important? I lied. The girl who picked it up finally takes it out of her bag, shoots every single shot at the shark, and then promptly dies. The plot point was completely irrelevant. When I first saw this movie, I thought it would have been made some interesting conflict, like, you know, maybe they find a boat that can't fit everyone on it, so she uses the gun to take it without anyone being able to stop her or something. But nope, that didn't happen, and you memorized that detail for no good reason. Unlucky, buddy. The climax is here. The 3 survivors, Paul, Kate, and the other girl, come up with a plan while the island is sinking. They find a gas barrel, so the girl whose name I do not know suggests using her lighter to blow up the shark. But they need a fuse, so what could they possibly use? Get this. The girl tells Paul to take off his shirt and wring it out. What? You don't just wring a shirt out and have it be completely dry and flammable. But in the end it doesn't actually work, which is realistic, so I suppose that's fine. But why would they even suggest that idea in the first place? I figured it out. It was to kill off the other girl. She sacrifices herself to blow up one head of the shark. Paul and Kate blow up the other head by sending a boat out by itself. The shark follows it, bites it, and gets blown to smithereens for some reason. And that's two-headed shark attack. Transition. The video is transitioning. So, that's two-headed shark attack. Here are my final spoiler-free thoughts. A lot of scenes that are supposed to be impactful don't really work because of the low quality visual effects, and in some cases it ends up ruining any sense of immersion you could possibly have by having characters make decisions that are completely illogical based on what's on the screen. You'll see something on the screen from the CGI and the characters will act like it's something completely different or in a completely different place, you know? Speaking of characters, there are none that are memorable and most are simply there to be killed off. The movie gave itself too many characters to work with and didn't develop them at all, once again taking away any impact from the deaths. There were moments where I thought they were going to show a hint of character development, but it never came about. There are also a lot of moments where the acting is a bit off. So here's how I'll rank it. Sometimes a movie can be really bad, but still a movie worth watching if viewed from the right perspective. So I'll be rating the film out of 10 on how good I think it is objectively. and then I'll rate it out of 10 on how much I would actually recommend that you yourself watch the movie. So how good is the movie in general? Honestly, I'd say 2 out of 10. As I explained, they really didn't do much right. Even though the CGI is something most people would point at, there are so many other problems that suggest a lack of effort. For example, camera angles that contradict scenes in CGI, camera angles that blatantly contradict what is actually supposed to be happening, bad writing, bad characters. There's so many problems, and there's very little redeeming factors. However, how much would I recommend the movie out of 10? 7 out of 10, for sure. When I first watched this, it was some of the most fun I've had watching a movie in a long time. If you go into the movie looking for a laugh, you'll be sure to enjoy yourself. That being said, if you've watched it once, it's not a movie you'll want to watch again. For me, watching this a second time in order to review it felt really boring compared to the first time, and it didn't provide me with the same fun that I had on the first viewing. And that's that. That is all I have to say on Two-Headed Shark Attack. Let's see what Five-Headed Shark Attack has to offer in comparison. Five-Headed Shark Attack is the third movie in the X-Headed Shark Attack series and followed Three-Headed Shark Attack. The movie was initially released on the 30th of July 2017. On IMDb, it received a rating of 3.1 out of 10, and on Amazon Prime, which is once again where I watched it, it currently stands at a surprising 4 out of 5 stars. I'll be going over this movie in the exact same way that I did with the last one, so if you want to avoid spoilers, go to the timestamp here, and if not, let's begin looking at the plot. Once again, the movie begins with an introductory scene where we see people being attacked, but this one actually bears at least some relevance to the rest of the movie. A group of 6 people are on a yacht in the water when they see the shark coming. They all stand at the back of the boat to take pictures, and then the four-headed shark jumps up and eats them all. Wait. Carry the 4. That gets 2. 3. 4? But... Dear God. We've been lied to. I can't believe it. Don't worry, the inconsistency will be explained at a later date. And by a later date, I mean in like a few minutes. We are now introduced to the first of our characters for this movie, 2 police officers. They sail out to investigate the boat, and despite arriving from the back of the boat where these 6 people got attacked, they don't seem to immediately notice the massive blood stain that was left on the back of the boat from all 6 of the victims. Instead, it's the camera lying on the ground next to the blood stain that tells them that something's wrong. This is the first part of the movie that provoked a good amount of laughter from me, and it's because of this short section here.
Yeah.
Wait. Go back. Did you see that? Go back.
You are telling me this man saw a picture of a 4-headed shark while investigating the disappearance of 6 people and completely skipped past the image with no reaction whatsoever? But that's about everything for the introduction of these first 2 characters. We're then introduced to the next group of characters, a group of marine biologists or something who work for an aquarium. You've got Dr. Yo, Sean, I think this girl is called Lindsay, and I don't know the name of the other 2, at least not off the top of my head. There's also their boss, who kind of acts like this movie's antagonist. He only cares about money and nothing else. I have to say now that there were moments in this movie where this guy pulled a facial expression that kind of reminded me of Trump. I don't really know how to describe it. You know the one where like you'll have like your mouth open, but it's kind of like you keep the teeth together, you know, that kind of face, I guess. Man, I don't know, something like that. It's kind of like that. Anyway, I digress. The police officers come to question Dr. Yo about whether or not a 4-headed shark could exist, to which she says no. Shortly after, we see a scene of the whole group on a boat because Mr. Bossman, who likes money, decides he wants to catch a great white shark as an exhibit for the aquarium to sell tickets. Hey, so you know how in horror movies there's that stereotypical trope where the first character to die is black? Yep, Sean dies first from the 4-headed shark, so they all head back. Looking at the facial expressions on their boss's face, it looks like he actually feels guilty, which I thought was going to form some character development. But then he flips that completely by sending everyone back out to try and catch this mutated shark later. The police interview the crew about what they saw, and now everyone is on the same page about the fact that there is a 4-headed shark hunting in the ocean. After this, we then get the first of many scenes throughout this movie where the shark just attacks a random group of people and it has no bearing on the story other than to just pad out the movie, really. So the boss of this team somehow manages to convince them to go back out into open waters on the hunt for this thing. Dr. Yo introduces the gang to our final new character, Red, who helps them on the hunt for this beast. The boss man tells Red that he wants it alive, but he can't make any promises. But it's like, come on, what plan could you possibly have for capturing a four-headed shark, right? I mean, killing it is one thing, but capturing it, out of here, son, no chance. After another random unimportant death scene, the hunt is on. On the way, we learn that Dr. Yo is very against killing animals, even if that animal happens to be a massive, hulking, dangerous, bloodthirsty, relentless, four-headed killing machine. She says killing it will be bad. We then get a scene of a turbo, which I thought was just going to be another scene of the shark attacking to pad out the movie, but this one actually holds significance. What a treat! The people on the turbo see a whale and start taking pictures of it, but the whale gets attacked by the four-headed shark, so they start panicking and trying to leave. The police officers as well as Red's crew receive the mayday signal from the turboat and depart to help them out. The turboat reaches safety, some random police officer shoots at the shark and gets eaten, and then the shark leaves to Red's boat. Red aims at it, but suddenly it disappears near the boat, and no one seems to be able to acknowledge that if they can't see it, maybe they're at risk, especially considering it was literally right next to the boat and then it just dipped under the water. Where did it go? The shark eats Lindsay, but not before Red can get a sonar spear into it. I mean, what was really going to happen there? Let's face the facts. Now we're about halfway through the movie now, so it seems like the perfect time to explain the contradiction between the title and the actual content of the film. A head grows in place of the tail. No explanation for it, just appears. So now it has 5 heads. I really don't understand why they did this. The previous 2 movies were 2- and 3-headed shark attacks, so the next logical movie in the series would be 4-headed shark attack. And it looks like that was the initial plan until someone on this team decided to introduce a 5th head out of the shark's ass. Upon returning from the voyage, the Red crew have a discussion at the aquarium. Their boss seems to think that the creature is dead after receiving a harpoon shot to the heart, which the male police officer who then enters the building agrees with. However, everyone else thinks it's still alive. Unfortunately, our fears are confirmed as the shark comes back to attack everyone at the beach, which is a lot of people, as there is a surfing event going on at this time in the movie. This is probably one of the worst looking kills in the movie. We see this surfer just chilling out surfing, and then he gets eaten while he's surfing, but he doesn't show any change in movement or anything, or even reaction while getting attacked. It's like they just took a video of some random surfer without him knowing, and then edited the shark over it. I mean, go on. The other police officer comes in to tell Red and the gang about the shark attack at the surface convention, so they all head back out to face it once again. After a brief brainstorming period, Dr. Yo comes up with a 200 IQ plan. She tells everyone that sharks don't like dolphins and will avoid them at all costs, so with that knowledge a plan is formed. They intend to put speakers in the water around the harbour which will play dolphin noises to isolate the shark. Then they blow it to smithereens. Easy plan. And you know what? Dr. Yo is okay with killing it. Does this mean... could it be... her character has an arc? If there's one thing this movie improves on compared to the original, it's the characters. They're not good by any means, but because there's less of them, they have time to be given actual personality to an extent and, you know, character. So that's one point of praise to give this movie over the original. It actually begins to look like the boss guy is going to have a redemption arc as well, because he starts apologising to everyone on the boat and trying to begin making amends. I'm curious to see how this arc will continue, just as I'm sure you are as well. Anyway, during the execution of the plan, the police boat sees the sonar signal from the shark, which then disappears because the shark is right underneath them, which they don't seem to realise. This leads to another contender for the funniest death in the movie. The female officer climbs on the side of the boat with her gun to look for the shark. The shark then attacks the underside of the boat, which causes her to fall off, which shocks everyone so much that the invisible man who appears to have been on board the boat the whole time reveals his arm for a brief moment as the officer falls. She then gets eaten. I had to have a double take of this scene because I thought I was hallucinating when I first watched it, but nope, there is genuinely some other random human arm in shot. I don't know if it was someone just to help them with the stunt or something, but they apparently couldn't take another shot of that, so it's in the film. The shark then breaks the propeller on the police boat and then leaves for Red's boat because they activate the dolphin sound effect. So some random shark ends up taking the explosive bait instead of the 5-headed one, and they end up blowing up the wrong shark without realizing it and begin celebrating. However, they quickly realize that it's not dead, especially when it destroys the propeller. The shark hits the bottom of the boat, knocking the girl, who I think was called Kate, into the water. But surprisingly, she doesn't actually die. For the first time in the entire series, I'm pretty sure, we have a character fall in the water and survive. Now remember how I talked about the beginning of the boss's character arc? Well, this is the climax of that right here. He picks up a harpoon and strikes the shark right in the face, and begins celebrating it, clearly showing that his priorities have changed. He truly does no longer care about the potential money to be had from capturing the shark alive, and instead takes the route that would save human lives by attempting to kill it. He then promptly dies. As the plan fails, a helicopter is sent out to save the survivors. A very bad CGI looking helicopter at that. Unfortunately, the 5-headed shark decides to deny basic logic and physics and jumps out of the water to the same height that this helicopter is flying at and drags it into the depths of the ocean. What? It is here that the final plan is set in motion. Red intends to lure the shark to the boat so he can leap at it with a hook and blows it to smithereens. He somehow survives this by... who knows. But that is the end of 5-headed shark attack. Another transit. Bro, shut up! Oh my god, it's raining outside. Come. Jeez. Is this gonna... Quit it, bro. Jeez, this rain is so annoying, bro. So, what are my final spoiler-free thoughts on 5-headed shark attack? How good is the movie? I would say 3 out of 10. The movie, as I'm sure you'd expect, suffers from a lot of issues present in the first one. While the CGI is slightly better, and it does a slightly better job of managing characters, I mean hell, some characters even have an arc, as small and rushed as it may be, but at the end of the day, neither of these aspects can still be called good, just better than the original. It still has the same inconsistencies and plot problems as the original, so while I have to rate it slightly higher as it is a better movie, I still can't give it a high rating. How much would I recommend the movie? Probably a 7 out of 10 again. I think this movie was slightly less enjoyable than the original, likely because it was actually a slightly better movie, but I still had a lot of fun and laughter watching it. Furthermore, on watching it the second time, I didn't get as bored as I did on my second viewing of 2-Headed Shark Attack, which I think balances it out to be another 7 on my scale. So with that all said and done, I hope you enjoyed this video. I put a lot of time and effort into this. I know it's something different, but I'm hoping you guys enjoy it, at least a bit. So, it was pretty fun to make, so if it does well, you can expect to see more bad movie reviews in the future. I've got like so many on the back burner that I want to watch, and again, if this does well, I'll likely review most of them, really. Anyway, thanks for watching this video, guys, and I'm most likely not going to see you until the next video, lads. Catch.